Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, Part 6, in which all our protagonists find the thin veneer of tranquility in their lives, tested by family and friends, with farcical and tragic consequences. Chapter 17. The coachman reined in the four in hand and looked to the right, at a field of rye where some moujiks were sitting by a cart. The clerk was about to jump down, then changed his mind and shouted peremptorily at a moujik, beckoning him over. The breeze they had felt during the drive became still when they stopped. Horseflies covered the sweaty horses, who angrily tried to shake them off. The metallic ring of a scythe blade being hammered beside the cart became still. One of the moujiks stood up and came over to the carriage. "See how rusty he is," the clerk shouted angrily at the barefooted moujik, stepping slowly over the bumps of the dry, untrampled road. "Come on, you." The curly-headed old man, his hair tied with a strip of bast, his hunched back dark with sweat, quickened his pace, came up to the carriage and placed his sunburnt hand on the splashboard. "Vozvichensko, the master's house, the count's," he repeated. "Just beyond that little rise. There's a left turn, straight down the avenue, and you run smack into it. Who is it you want? Himself?" "And are they at home, my dear man?" Darya Alexandrovna said vaguely, not even knowing how to ask the moujik about Anna. "Should be," said the moujik, shifting his bare feet and leaving a clear five-toed footprint in the dust. "Should be," he repeated, obviously willing to strike up a conversation. "There's more guests came yesterday. No end of guests. What is it?" He turned to a lad who shouted something to him from the cart. "Ah, yes, they just passed here on horseback to go and look at a reaper. They should be home by now. And where are you from?" "Far away," said the coachman, getting up on the box. "So it's nearby?" "I told you, it's right here, just beyond," he said, moving his hand on the splashboard. A young, hale, strapping fellow also came over. "Is there any work at the harvesting?" he asked. "I don't know, my dear." "So just go left and you come straight to it," said the moujik, obviously wishing to talk and reluctant to let the travelers go. The coachman started, but they had no sooner made the turn than they heard the moujik shouting. "Wait! Hey, wait, man!" two voices cried. The coachman stopped. "It's them, coming. There they are!" cried the moujik. "See them coming along?" he said, pointing to four people on horseback and two in a char-à-banc, moving along the road. It was Vronsky with his jockey, Veslovsky and Anna on horseback, and Princess Varvara and Zviazhsky in the char-à-banc. They had gone for a ride and to see some newly arrived reaping machines at work. When the carriage stopped, the riders came on at a slow pace. At their head rode Anna beside Veslovsky. Anna rode calmly on a short, sturdy English cob with a cropped mane and short tail. Her beautiful head with slender waist and the black riding habit, and her whole calm, graceful bearing, struck Dolly. In the first moment it seemed improper to her that Anna should be on horseback. To Darya Alexandrovna's mind, the notion of ladies on horseback was connected with the notion of light, youthful coquetry, which in her opinion did not suit Anna's situation. But when she saw her closer up, she at once became reconciled with her horseback riding. In spite of her elegance, everything in Anna's bearing and dress and movement was so simple, calm, and dignified that nothing could have been more natural. Beside Anna, on a fiery grey cavalry horse, rode Vasenka Veslovsky in his Scotch cap with its flying ribbons, his fat legs stretched forward, obviously admiring himself, and Darya Alexandrovna, recognizing him, could not suppress a gay smile. Behind them rode Vronsky. Under him was a dark bay thoroughbred, obviously excited from galloping. He worked the reins, trying to hold it back. After him rode a small man in a jockey's outfit. Zviazhsky and the princess in a new char-à-banc drawn by his long black trotter were overtaking the riders. Anna's face suddenly lit up with a joyful smile as she recognized the small figure huddled in the corner of the old carriage as Dolly. She gave a cry, sat up in the saddle, and touched her horse into a gallop. Coming up to the carriage, she jumped down unassisted and, holding the skirts of her riding habit, ran to meet Dolly. "I thought so, but didn't dare think it. What a joy! You can't imagine what a joy it is for me," she said, first pressing her face to Dolly's and kissing her, then drawing back and looking at her with a smile. "What a joy, Alexei!" she said, turning to Vronsky, who had dismounted and was coming towards them. Vronsky, having taken off his tall gray hat, approached Dolly. "You won't believe how glad we are that you've come," he said, giving the words he spoke a special significance and revealing his strong white teeth in a smile. Vasenka Veslovsky, without dismounting, took his cap off and greeted the visitor, joyfully waving the ribbons over his head. "That is Princess Varvara," Anna responded to Dolly's questioning look as the char-à-banc drove up. "Ah," said Darya Alexandrovna, and her face involuntarily showed displeasure. Princess Varvara was her husband's aunt. She had known her for a long time and had no respect for her. She knew that Princess Varvara had spent her whole life as a sponger on wealthy relations. But the fact that she was now living off Vronsky, a man who was a stranger to her, offended her feelings for her husband's family. Anna noticed the look on Dolly's face, became embarrassed, blushed, lost hold of her skirt, and tripped over it. Darya Alexandrovna went over to the halted char-à-banc and greeted Princess Varvara coldly. Zviazhsky was also an acquaintance. He asked how his eccentric friend and his young wife were doing, and, after a fleeting glance at the ill-matched horses and the carriage with its patched splashboards, invited the ladies to ride in the char-à-banc. "And I'll go in that vehicle," he said. "The horse is quiet, and the princess is an excellent driver." "No, you stay as you were," said Anna, coming over, "and we'll go in the carriage." And taking Dolly by the arm, she led her away. Darya Alexandrovna stared wide-eyed at that elegant equipage, the like of which she had never seen before, at those superb horses, at the elegant, shining faces that surrounded her. But she was struck most of all by the change that had taken place in her familiar and beloved Anna. Another, less attentive woman, one who had not known Anna before, and above all, one who had not been thinking what Darya Alexandrovna had been thinking on the way, would not have noticed anything special about Anna. But Dolly was struck by that temporary beauty which women have in moments of love, and which she now found in Anna's face. Everything in her face, the distinctness of the dimples on her cheeks and chin, the set of her lips, the smile that seemed to flit about her face, her shining eyes, the gracefulness and quickness of her movements, the fullness of the sound of her voice, even the manner in which she replied with angry indulgence to Veslovsky, who asked permission to ride her cob in order to teach him to gallop on the right leg. Everything was especially attractive, and it seemed that she herself knew it and rejoiced in it. When the two women got into the carriage, both were suddenly overcome with embarrassment. Anna was embarrassed by the attentively inquisitive way Dolly looked at her. Dolly, because, after Zviazhsky's words about the vehicle, she felt involuntarily ashamed of the dirty old carriage that Anna got into with her. The coachman, Philippe, and the clerk felt the same way. To conceal his embarrassment, the clerk bustled about, helping the ladies in. But Philippe the coachman turned glum and prepared himself ahead of time not to submit to this external superiority. He smiled ironically, glancing at the black trotter, and had already made up his mind that this black one of the charabanc was good only for promenading, and would not even make 25 miles in hot weather harnessed singly. The Mujiks all got up from the cart and curiously and merrily watched the visitors' reception, making their own observations. "They're glad, too. Haven't seen each other in a long while," said the curly-headed old man tied with a bast. "Say, Uncle Jellison, with that black stallion to haul sheaves, we'd step lively." "Looky there, is that one in breeches a woman?" said one of them, pointing at Vasenka Veslovsky, who was mounting a side-saddle. "Nah, it's a man. See how sprightly he hopped up." "Well, boys, does it look like we'll have our nap?" "Forget it," said the old man with a sidelong glance at the sun. "It's already past noon. Take the hooks and get started." If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.